A warm welcome to A Nurse's Lift to Work with Tina and Kate, coaching podcast by two healthcare professionals. We are friends, we are nurses, master NLP coaches, hypnotherapists, parents and business owners. We are busy people juggling many things just like you.
You are in for a treat. We will chat about informal coaching tips, coping strategies, and how to effectively change your mindset and have some fun along the way. So, hop on board with us for A Nurse's Lift to Work.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Nurse's Lift to Work. I'm Kate.
And I'm Tina. And we have a guest with us today. We have Ali with us today. We're delighted that she's joined us to talk about mental health first aid, as well as other subjects I'm sure will come up. So, Ali, thank you for joining us. Do you want to introduce yourself, what area of the world you work in and how you came to do what you do?
Hi everyone, I'm Ali, and thank you so much, Kate and Tina, for inviting me onto a podcast. It's my first ever podcast, so I'm quite excited and a little bit nervous. And what tends to happen when I get nervous is I talk too much, so I might need to be shut up at some point. Anyway, I'm Ali, and I live in Devon, so I work with lots of different organisations across Devon, including the NHS as well. But I'm not only limited to Devon. I'll work with anyone really. So I can do that online, or I do pack a bag and off I go. Wherever in the world that takes me. So I'm more than happy to do that. And what I do, well, I deliver a lot of training, a lot around mental health awareness, and also helping people really to kind of understand a little bit more about mental health and how to look after themselves better, but also, looking out for those signs and signals within someone else and how to give them that initial support, really.
And is that what mental health first aid is as such then, Ali?
Yeah, so if we think about physical first aiders, well, their role is to be first on scene, initial responders, keep that person safe, and then help them to the next level of support if that is required. And similarly, with mental health first aid, you are there in that crisis moment potentially, or in that moment when someone is really not feeling themselves and they need that encouragement and guidance to the next level of support. So you're not there as counselors, you're not there as someone to diagnose somebody. It's more about initial help.
Because it's a relatively, in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively new concept, isn't it, with the mental health first aid, especially in the workplace?
Yeah, I think it's been around a while, and I think there have been companies that have kind of been quite proactive. Um, but you are seeing more and more now of people actually getting it and thinking, yeah, we need to treat it in the same as we would if someone was off sick physically. We support them, don't we? We help them. We might make some reasonable adjustments to, while they're off. And similarly, we need to do the same thing with someone's mental health. It might be something they're experiencing temporarily, not necessarily forever.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just dropped something. I'd apologise, listeners. I just dropped my phone. But the reason I dropped it was because I was trying to look up the name of the podcast. It's called Off the Top of Your Head. And there is a mental health podcast which is being run by NHS England and is mainly based around mental health first aid, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And NHS England have kind of been promoting folks in the workplace, all sorts of workplaces actually, becoming mental health first aiders themselves. And I don't know what the situation is in Wales or Scotland, Ali, do you? I'm not sure.
I'm not really sure. I mean, it will be similar,
Yeah.
probably, I'm guessing. And yeah, they certainly deliver mental health first aid courses there, but it's quite strict on who can deliver it. I think, you know, I'm not able to do that myself in
Yeah.
your Wales. But yeah, they will have it there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've become a mental health first aider myself, but you didn't have to be a nurse or a registered healthcare professional in any way to do it. There were some amazing people on my course who were working in a charity warehouse, who were working in support roles like administration. Yeah, a really wide range of people. There was a lovely guy who was on the cleaning team. So, you know, that was what was nice is, for want of a better word, it's kind of everyday folk get involved.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's not just down to your HR manager, you know, or your manager or your chief exec to do the training. It could be anyone. And quite often those people may not be the best placed people to be your mental health first aiders, because potentially someone might be thinking, well, if I share that information about myself at work, to HR, or to the boss, then they'll be worried about the implications of that. So yeah, I think as a business, you have to think quite carefully about who your mental health first aiders are going to be,
Yeah.
but also supporting them as well, and enabling them to carry out that role too, because that can be quite challenging for some businesses.
Yeah. With if I wanted to speak to a mental health first aider in my workplace, is this something that you go through a Occy Health to get, or can you just contact that person and say, I need to speak to a mental health first aider? Or is it dependent on the organisation on how their policy works?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Kate, because I think it is dependent on the organization. There's no kind of set way of doing it. Um, some organizations might have, you know, like the kitchen area or somewhere, put a notice board will have the names of the people up or pictures of the people up, and just, you know, try and make it as casual and, you know, not in the spotlight, because again, if someone sees someone having a chat with a mental health first aider, it's like, oh, hello, you know, clearly something going on there. So it has to be really carefully done. So some places might have policies, some may not. It's down to the organization, I think.
Yeah. And I've worked in two organisations that have mental health first aiders. One, they have lanyards, which is slightly different.
Yeah.
So they want to walk around with slightly different kind of, I don't know, I suppose the
They
thing
are,
that,
yeah,
yeah,
the lanyards, that's what they're called.
yeah,
Yeah.
the lanyards and the thing that lanyard hangs off. I can't remember the word for it for the minute. But yeah, so you could spot one walking
Yeah.
around. And another place they did have posters both in the toilets, which I thought that was a clever idea, as well as like where the tea and coffee was, and with photographs of people. So you thought, oh, there they are then. So that was
Yeah.
quite nice.
And some organizations are also really productive as well, and they will have, like, they'll jump on the awareness days, and that they'll you know, give that over to the mental health first aiding team to kind of say, do something with that, you know, encourage people to get to know who you are, what you do. Or they might have a newsletter that they include the mental health first aiders in, you know. So there's lots of things that you can do to promote your mental health first aider team, and so people know who they are. But yeah, it's always with caution, because you don't want people to kind of be alienated because they've approached mental health first aid. It's got to be kind of carefully managed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And is
So,
there a
sorry,
sorry,
you
Tina.
go first, Kate.
Is there because I know some of our listeners will probably be thinking, I'm not bad enough I don't feel bad enough to need a mental health first aider. But that's not true, is it?
No, I mean, again, it's down to the individual, isn't it? Because I think some people struggle, don't they, to recognise how bad they are, because they've been coping, and it's become their normal level of operating. But and sometimes there's denial, isn't there? So that
Yeah.
what you say, Kate, I'm not bad enough. Well,
Mm.
how do we
Yeah.
know? How do we know? You see that a lot in with elderly people as well. Well, I'm
Mm.
old,
Yeah.
so it's expected. That doesn't mean it's right.
I know in 2019 I had a massive breakdown, completely oblivious to the fact that it was about to happen, except everybody else around me saw it coming. Everybody except me, especially at work. We didn't have mental health first aiders then, so obviously we do now. So if somebody's in a similar position where they see somebody who is obviously struggling, what's the best way to approach it? Is it to say, so if somebody had come to me and said, oh, perhaps you need to see a mental health first aider, it would have raised my awareness to actually the fact that I was falling apart a little bit because I didn't know.
Wow, Kate. I mean, that must be really tricky for you at the
Oh, well,
time.
no, it happened. I'm all good now, and I'm here because that was where my path took me. I'm at
Yeah,
peace with it.
good,
Um,
good.
but
Yeah,
it's just for other people to be able to say, or have the courage to say,
I think there's a lot of people that notice things, but have, like you say, they have that kind of fear, don't they? Of
yeah,
I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't know what I'm going to open up. Um, and then I won't know what to do
mm,
with what they tell me. And it's having all of that. Okay, so we've opened up the box, and they've told me loads of stuff. Now what? So I think there's a lot of people that are kind of fearful. Of having those conversations. So it does take quite a lot of confidence and it does take quite a lot of courage. Um, but at the same time, there's probably other people that think, "Oh, what do I say? I'm going to say something. What do I say?" So I think you're right. It's difficult, and I think it's about just having a conversation without judgment, and just asking some really good questions, really.
Mm.
And I think it's keeping it to kind of evidence, isn't it? So whatever you've noticed, you kind of use that. So I've noticed that you've not been yourself lately.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
what's going on?
yeah, and I think for everyone listening, if you're thinking, oh yeah, right, there's somebody I'm a bit concerned about, or somebody that I've been thinking, are they okay? Then any of us can open up these conversations, and sometimes it depends where you are.
Yeah.
So I have certainly before created maybe artificial circumstances in which I can just be in a private space with somebody. So, can you come and help me in the cupboard, or can you help me take this out of the car? And then on that private moment, I've let it come from myself. So I've said, um, you've been on my mind lately, Ali, and I've just noticed you're not your usual self. Are you okay? If you ever want to talk, or if then you want to talk about it, here I am. And then just a little bit of self-ownership, like, I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because hearing someone else being concerned for you is often an opening little place for some people.
Yeah, and I think it sends a lot of strong positive messages that firstly, you've noticed me, whereas I might be in that mindset where nobody really cares, no one's noticing, no one's bothered. So you're already kind of breaking down that kind of barrier for me. And also it's that care and compassion that you said, Tina, somebody really cares here, somebody wants to help me.
Mm.
And that sends it's quite an empathic way to communicate with someone. I've noticed I'm worried,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I think just ask a really good question and just this. The other thing is really listen.
Mm.
And it's really important, that listening element, actually, because this might be the first time they've ever said this thing out loud. And you're that person that's opened the door a crack.
mm,
So it's our responsibility to really listen to this. Because if we don't, then that can kind of backfire massively on us. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And as humans, that very old saying, like two ears, one mouth. There's a reason they're in that
mm,
they're in that order. It's because people will pile in with their advice. Oh, so what you need to do is this, and what you need to do is that, and what you need to do is have a week off, and what you need to do is this. And that might be what you would do if you felt like that person is feeling. That's often where advice comes often from a good place, but it's not necessarily helpful because it doesn't feel like listening sometimes. Mm.
Yeah, and I think we're wired, aren't we, to fix people or wired to fix a problem. So if someone tells us, what's going on, and we think, oh yeah, we need to fix that. When actually, you're right, Tina, we're not in the best place to be the fix. We're not them. We're not living what they're living. So our job really is to listen really well and then help them to process and
Yeah.
whatever it is they're working through. And they're gonna come up with the thing they need to do next, potentially.
Mm. How,
So how did you how did you fall into this role? Because where did it start?
Yeah. Well, I've always been a trainer. Pretty much most of my career, not in this field at all. I was in the corporate situation. I was doing financial services training. I was doing customer service training, but always about people. That was the thing that really kind of excited me, how people tick, how we communicate. So that's always been my sort of skill bag, really. And then we had some stuff happening at home and with my children, one in particular, and I thought, I really don't have the skills for this. I really don't know what to do. And as a parent, you want to fix it, don't you? You want to make it better. So I came across it was a one day version of mental health first aid for young people. So I thought, right, get myself on there, and it was a really good course. Found it really helpful. Found it really comforting to know that I wasn't the only one going through this sort of thing. And it was also really good because it made in terms of confidence because I knew from what I was hearing I was already doing a lot of the right things. Um, so it gave me more confidence to carry on doing those things. And then I had a little bit of a light bulb moment because I thought, hang on a minute, just a minute. I've got all the skills here to facilitate the topic. What I don't have at the moment is the knowledge, but I can learn knowledge. And what I'm really good at is making it happen in the room and imparting that knowledge. And for me, it was just, right, I need to do this because this is so important. If this has helped me in one day, then I need to be out there helping other people. That's kind of how I got into it.
and I guess
Absolutely.
yeah, sorry, Kate. I guess it's made you think about your own mental health because these things do, don't they, when you go on them. So, what keeps you going through those kind of crazy moments? Is it coffee or chocolate, Ali? What do you lean on when you need a bit of?
Oh, it's a difficult one to answer because I have quite a range of things and they always involve probably outside, nature, exercise, people. That's probably my kind of go-to. But yeah, anything outside and being active. And with my dog, I mean, my dog, oh my God, he sort of solves everything. So yeah, 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 those are my go-tos, but it's different for everyone. It's finding what works for you.
And you spoke when we last met about the difference between when you walk and other people walk, that you know. So.
You tell me what to remind me, Tina, I've
You were
forgotten.
talking about noticing things, which I thought was
Oh,
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So me and my husband, I was referring. Yeah, that's right. So when I go out walking with Bertie, my dog, not my husband, I try and be in the moment as much as I can. So I'm looking at what can I see? Nature, what's the weather doing? What can I hear? All those sorts of things, and with spring coming, that's a really great time because you're noticing things come alive as well. But when my husband goes out for a walk, he tends to have his head down and he's focusing on let's just get the walk. We're out doing the walk. So he's focusing on the task really, whereas I try and be in the moment. And and everyone's different, but I think if you want to help with your own mental health and your well-being, it's trying to be in the moment, not thinking about the next thing that you're going to do when you get home, or the jobs that you've got on your list.
And what are you reading at the minute?
See, that's something I don't do.
Oh, you know what? This is a question that we always ask. And I always feel really bad because Tina reads these like epic books, and I think, oh, I should read that. And I don't. I'm an audiobook kind of girl, I am.
Yeah, and I don't do that either, Kate. I don't listen to books either.
But
I Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's
yeah.
not my thing. It really is not my thing. I'm more of a doer.
Oh, okay.
So crafting, I love crafting, gardening, anything that gets me doing stuff. I cannot sit still easily. So yeah,
I
so we,
think you would both be in at least a third. If you divided any room with a good number of people in it, you'd be at least a third. People don't, they get book guilt for not reading books. And it'd be at least a third of people go, no, I don't read very often. I just can't find the time. I might on holiday or occasionally. But I think that is actually quite common, to be honest. It is one of the ways I relax. But I was listening to something the other day, and it was all about being mindful. And the lady on the podcast was saying, well, I can't do meditation and this being mindful malarkey, sitting in a room cross-legged in a position I can't get into with, my hands elegantly on my knees. She said, trying not to think about life. And the person listening to her was great. She said, but do you shower or anything? She said, of course, yeah. She said, I stay in the shower for a good 5-10 minutes every morning if I can, and I just let that water wash away my troubles. And she said, well, that's being mindful, that's being in the moment. So crafting would be the same, isn't it? I think people think it's something that it's not.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. And it's just finding that thing, isn't it? What is the thing that takes you away from the hustle and bustle, and is good for you? What's nourishing you? Because we all know that we've got to eat 5 a day. Well, actually 10, but but it's 5 a day, and we know we've got to sleep. But it's the same with our mental health. What are those things that are good for you, that nourish you and keep you well?
Mm.
Do you find in your role when you're obviously you are a trainer, but people will come to you. Do you find that the problems that people are experiencing or the feelings that they're having are similar in nature? Like, is there a common theme that I don't know, with an overwhelm or
Yeah.
divorce or relationship problems? Is there a
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's a theme really. I think work can be quite a thing for a lot of people.
Mm,
And that could include any of those things. So people, money,
mm,
yeah, am I in the right job? All those sorts of things. I don't think there's one thing that stands out. I think health is another one. People worry about their health. That can be quite a stressful thing, or they're caring for someone that's not very well. No, I don't, I can't say, Kate, that there is one thing,
mm.
because maybe because I see a range of audiences, but
Yeah.
maybe in different sectors there could be.
Mm. And when somebody goes to see or speaks to a mental health first aider, what's the process afterwards? So they've had the conversation. What does the first aider do with that?
Yeah, and again, it's different for different people, but initially, we have to think about boundaries. It's
Mm,
really important when you're a mental health first aider. You are not there as a 24/7, give me a call whenever you want. And that could be, let's do it on a weekly basis, because that's not your role. Your role is to encourage them to take the next step, really, if that is appropriate. So it could be, why don't you give the GP a call? And again, we can't force people to do anything. We're there to guide and encourage and support, to the next level of support, whatever that looks like for them. And it's about empowering that individual to do it. And maybe we have a conversation with them around, okay, how did you get on? You know, what happened when you called the doctor? And just checking in.
Yeah.
And if they haven't made that call, okay, so what happened? Why, why did you feel that, try and establish what some of those barriers might be for them for accessing the next level of support. Because you have to protect yourself as well. You are not, there's only so much that you can do. And it's protecting yourself from, we are not immune to these thoughts and feelings ourselves. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And when it comes to taking the next step, there is only one person that can do that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to help them come to their own fixes, really, because they can see themselves doing that, So asking some really, really good questions around, so what do you think would be helpful for you to do right now? Who do you think would be a good person to talk to? And if they come up with, oh, maybe I need to call the doctor, yeah, that's a great idea. Because they can actually see themselves doing that. That's something that is within their kind of reach, really. No one likes being told what to do either. That's horrible, isn't it? When someone says, well, what you need to do, what you should do is. So if it comes from them, I think it's go with it and then check in. How did you get on?
Yeah.
amazing.
Because there's a statistic, isn't there? It's something like 1,795 hours a year we spend at work on average. That's a lot of time to be somewhere, anywhere. And then if you are in the world of work all that time, then you're not going to have great days every day. It's just on the law of averages. Some of them are not going to be your greatest days. And so first aiding is a bit like when one of those days isn't so great, it's just somebody to say, God, I just can't see the end to this list. I just feel a bit like everything's piling in or whatever. That would be an example of a mental health conversation. What could help you just now feel like there's an end to that, end point to that, or this is only today and tomorrow will be better. Or so finding our resourcefulness actually is often, I think, what these kind of conversations are a stepping stone to, really. And also I think it's just a bit of validation, someone going, it really is okay to not be okay all the time. Like, you're not a performing seal, to go around all the time going, I'm fine. And we do this thing, don't we, where we pass each other in the corridor, and I always think it's quite comical when people go, how are you? And they go, fine, how are you? And they're just like, they're down by the photocopier by the time they've answered you. So
yeah, it's more of a greeting, that, really, isn't it? It's not really a question. It's a weird one, but you're right. No one really does anything with it. It's and it's that expected response, isn't it? So when somebody asks me that question, I'm expected to say, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
And,
Fine.
And how actually it's okay to say, oh, this week not so great. It's got a lot on. I feel like I don't know how I'm going to manage all those different things expected of me this week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's having some honesty with yourself, isn't it, as well? I think that's what you said earlier, Kate, about kind of not burying your head in the sand and just listening into your own kind of body, and how's your body feeling, what's your thinking like, what are some of those things that you're hearing in your head, and taking notice, really, because those are all signals that we're really struggling potentially with our mental health, or we're not all right.
Yeah. And tips for people then who kind of struggle to express that that's what's going on for them. Is there anything that you could guide them to, or you would suggest for them, Ali?
Tips like, what do you mean, Tina? Sorry, it's a
I was thinking like for
question.
those people who either would describe themselves as I'm very private, or I don't talk about this stuff, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things really. I think journaling's a really good one. That's quite private. No one needs to read that. But it's a way of just processing some of that and getting it down. Um, some people write poetry, you know. I know someone that was really in a dark place, really struggled with kind of verbalizing how they felt. But they were quite creative. So one way was to write poetry and just get it all down somehow. Some people can express it through art, you know. So I think there's just finding ways of, you know, allowing that to process and that emotion to come out somehow. Gardening is really good, isn't it? Because it's kind of, you know, you can get quite physical with that. So it's not right for everyone to talk to somebody, but what we all need to do is find a way of, yeah, processing the emotions and the thinking and, you know, yeah, allowing that emotion to come out. Does that answer your question, Tina? I think,
No, it's good. I don't think
yeah,
there probably is a big right or wrong answer, but I'm just
no,
interested in what your thinking is about it, really. Because it said depends on the person, doesn't it? Because I was thinking about people who's what I would call their self-talk isn't very kind. So people who in their own heads are saying stuff like, well, book up, Tina, because you need to do better, and you know this, you know, you should be stronger, and you know it's all your own fault anyway, and you've been a bit of an idiot. You would never talk
yeah,
to a friend like this. You would if you
no,
say the things out loud that you are saying to yourself, it's and Kate and I have had
yeah.
conversations about this, haven't we?
And I
Yeah.
think it's as well, it's kind of looking, it's challenging yourself, isn't it? And challenging that thinking and and saying, hang on a minute, what evidence have I got that says I'm rubbish at that? What evidence is there that backs any of that thinking up? Well, there's probably none. But it's not easy for everyone to challenge those thoughts. And probably when we're in the grip of it, we're not in a place where we can ourselves. We probably need somebody else to help us to do that.
Yeah, yeah. In the past, I've known people say like, say you're talking to yourself like that in that kind of mean way. Just say a friend's name instead. Start thinking in your head that,
That's
you
really
know,
good, Tina. I
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, Kate, you're an idiot. You can think, oh, I would never say that to Kate. Oh my God, I can't
She
believe
would think it though, people. She would think it.
I would never say it. But you know, you just wouldn't be that unkind, would you, or mean or rude?
No.
And then if you put someone else's name in your mind around the things you're saying to yourself, if you can catch yourself in the moment, which is tricky, as you said, Ali, isn't it? It's like, don't do that. Don't do that stuff, you know?
Yeah. We have natural ways of thinking as well. I think we, you know, some people will kind of, you know, talk themselves down all the time. Some people, you know, catastrophize and kind of imagine that, oh, it always goes this way. It's never going to work. You know, so it's really difficult to unpick all of that because that's years and years of practice.
Yeah, and it's interesting you should say that as well, because certainly when it comes to nursing or any health profession, it's you do kind of everybody's poorly because that's all you see. I mean, I come from an A&E background, and I know Tina's got A&E experience as well. So you think, oh God, anyone with chest pain is going to have a heart attack, they're going to die. Anyone with a headache has got, a bleed going on, or, their blood pressure. Blah. And so you do tend to do that whole catastrophizing situations when you are out and about, and you forget that actually we see such a small percentage of
Yeah.
sick people when everybody else is absolutely fine. It just resonated a little bit with you saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's paying attention to your thoughts and, you know, because that really does drive how you feel about things as well.
Mm.
But but it's not easy to do. You have to be quite, in a good place to do that.
Mm, mm. I suppose some homework for the listeners is, if currently you feel your mental well-being is on an even keel, and we all have ups and downs and seesaw, that's just absolutely normal. Then when you're in the better places, just start noticing what your thinking's doing, which Kate and I would say all the time, just check in on that and think, oh, actually, was that a helpful range of thinking I've just done about that? Or has that made me feel worse? And if if the things you think are making you feel worse, they're generally not helping. So beginning with noticing is great. And maybe a bit of journaling of that noticing, Ali, based on what you've said, might be good.
Yeah, just trial it. Just trial it for a bit, see what
Yeah.
happens. Because it can be quite interesting. Because my kids always say to me, "Don't you always talk yourself down?" You're like, "Oh, do I?" And then I have kind of listened into myself, thought, yeah, I do say things like, "Oh, well, I'm not good at that sort of thing," or they're just little things. They're just little thoughts that pop in my head. But where have they come from? It's probably going back and back and back. But yeah, I don't need to act on those thoughts. I don't need to pay attention to those thoughts. I can change that thinking. It's all within my control.
Mm.
But you can see how people spiral,
Yes.
out. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So when you started off doing this kind of work, what if you could have given yourself some advice, if you could go back in time, what kind of things that you've learned would you have told your younger self that would have helped the most?
As a trainer, Tina, or
Yeah, just
or a
kind of the
mental
way
health
you're living your
sustainer.
life now and what you've learned about it all.
Okay. I think there's something around just being brave and courageous. And just asking yourself, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? Um, because when I've had those moments of bravery and courage, some great things have happened. Um, so I think that's one thing, and just be present. Try and, busy. We lead quite busy lives. We're working hard. We got busy family life. Lots going on, and I think it's just really important to kind of take time for you. That's not a selfish thing to do. It's a really important thing that you do that. So I'm quite mindful of doing more of that now and not feeling guilty for doing it. So that's probably my top two.
Yeah, brilliant advice.
I'm busy writing these down. If you wonder what I'm doing, it's because I'm writing. So I've just written down, be present, be brave and courageous, because good things happen.
Yeah, and like that, brave and courageous can mean anything. So I'm sort of thinking of moments where I do sometimes do things that scare me a little bit, but they're not really that scary.
Yeah.
But to me they are. And that's always gone okay.
Mm.
Some great things happen there, and sometimes there's courage around silence as well. So when I was thinking, Kate, about what you were asking around conversations, and if you're going to approach somebody, I think some great things have happened when I've been brave with the silence, because that is uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I've built myself up to have this conversation with this friend or colleague that's not in a great place. And then I've asked the question, and then I can feel that I'm getting quite anxious and nervous a little bit about they've not said anything, and just giving it a beat or two, and suddenly stuff starts coming from them. And you think, yeah, you've just got to be brave sometimes when you have conversations like that, because they're not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to talk to people about their mental health, but yeah. So courage can mean different things to different people.
That's amazing.
We
Ali,
have an
thank
episode
you.
on silence, don't we, Kate? That I'll
We
put the
do.
link in, actually
Yeah,
using
great.
silence as well. So I'll pop that
Is it, I
link in
think
for our,
it's the art of uncomfortable silence.
yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll pop that link in for our listeners.
Yeah, I'll tune in. It's just, I think the power of it is just amazing, but we just often we find it too difficult, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Ali, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of our podcast.
Oh, it's been lovely. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
I love learning new stuff.
Yeah, that's good for us too. That's another good self-care tip. Learn something new. Yeah, it is because it gets that brain going, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, so add that one to your list, Kate.
And just before you leave us, Sally, you were saying you're doing a few things in the Devon area for any nurses who are kind of from this part of the world. Do you just want
Yeah,
to mention briefly what you're up
I
to?
I will. Thank you for that, Tina. So I work with the Learning Development Centre in Devon. So some of you will be aware of that, some of you won't be, but you can look them up. And they run a host of different events and courses. And what I do for them is the mental health awareness or the mental health first aider courses. So there are a few of those on there if you want to have a look at those. They're online, so it's quite easy. But the one thing that they are running in Exeter, so it is a face-to-face day, it's a conference for women only in healthcare. So they're doing it's let me see, what's the title? Women's Healthcare Masterclass. So it's the 23rd of April. It's at Exeter Racecourse, and you can book on through the website there as well. So they've got some guest speakers. I'll be there, and I'll be doing some workshops around wellbeing and stress management. But they've got a host of other things going on as well. So if you want a day just for women and focusing on women's healthcare, then that might be something that you might be interested in.
Brilliant. Thank you. And we'll put all those links in, and Ali will send me those links and we'll put
I
those in
will.
for everybody. So thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I've been Tina.
And I'm Kate.
And I've been Ali.
And this has been A Lift to Nursing Work. You've been listening to A Nurse's Lift to Work with Kate and Tina. Please remember, this is not a replacement for medical treatment or help, so do seek assistance if you need to.
Thank you for joining us. Please do like, subscribe, give us stars, like and share with your friends and colleagues. All the good things.